Greetings and welcome to this week's episode of the Pixel Crashers podcast, a podcast where we discuss news and politics and gaming and stuff. I am Angelus de Mortiel, together with BansheeCharger, who I actually got his name updated, and I forgot to unmute him as I do every week. It's really what gives me joy every week is forgetting to unmute Kev.
The disrespect is real. I still like Pop-Tarts. Pop-Tarts are still alive.
And we also have Xaiphen here.
So I am. Crap.
Yeah, apparently people showed up today, especially, and not least of all, is Death Shadow 9, who, despite having drowned in the Atlantic like several times now, he somehow is still here.
I am back from the abyss called Miami.
Yeah, it is an abyss. It is an abyss. I'm not gonna lie.
I thought the correct term was cesspool.
That too. That's Fort Lauderdale. I don't care. I throw them under the bus.
Beyond under the bus.
Just throw my entire state under the bus. It's okay.
I think they did that to themselves.
You bred George Bush Jr. You deserve all you get.
No, it's even worse. It's like every time you hear some kind of crazy news coming out of somewhere, like person tries to eat another person's face. Where are they from?
Mm-hmm.
Florida.
Man tries to beat his neighbor with his own dog. Florida.
Yep.
In fairness, anytime you hear about somebody trying to eat someone,
yeah,
Eastern Washington.
Well, Spokane is its own sort of crazy.
So Eastern. I'm in Western Washington. We don't do crazy shit like that.
Yeah. No, not as crazy as Florida. I think Florida wins as being the state that everybody acknowledges exists and no one ever actually wants to live in.
I thought that was Wisconsin.
Wait, Wisconsin's a state?
Depends on who you ask.
No, the thing is that Wisconsin apparently is very happy. Because isn't it Wisconsin that everybody sounds like they're from Canada?
I think I'm from Canada right now. Fuck Trump.
Anyway, without going too much into political discussion on here, well, actually,
talk about Star Wars Battlefront 2, bro.
Casino. we'll talk about Star Wars Casino Front 2 shortly. Don't worry. But at least at the moment, what we'll kind of touch on is some games that people have played. Because I know that none of you guys actually play video games. You just say that you do. And that's perfectly fine. I mean, I understand you guys are just casuals, especially Kev. He's been paying. So Kev, why don't you tell us about Peasantry 2 and how much you love that game?
Peasantry. I don't play any Peasantry.
Yeah, it's that game with the big giant peasant globe floating over the earth that gives off peasant light and yeah.
Oh, you mean the AAA version of Warframe, the good one? the actual good one, because Warframe's for broke people.
The funny thing about it is that I think there's more people playing Warframe and have been for 5 years, and it has more content, more variety, and to be honest with you, I get bored with Warframe that has more content and more variety.
Ooh, ouch.
And we can't even talk about Destiny that has, hey man, how many of those magical classes can you play as? Oh, 3? Yeah. Oh.
I need 18 classes for what?
18 classes? 18 what classes?
I don't know how many classes right from that. Don't care. Level suck.
Classes.
Anyway, so how has that game been? How has it aged since it launched? Aside my jeering.
It's been glorious. It's been glorious. Playing at a silky smooth 144 frames a second.
Which, of course, anybody who
So-
knows that rarely do console ports get such lavish treatment.
Well, Bungie lied
Uh-oh.
because that base we capping at 200. They said it's uncapped. Damn it! I want 300 frames a second.
But let's be honest though, right? Are you actually going to make use of 200 frames per second?
Irrelevant.
And this is benchmarking culture, everyone. I'd just like to see this. It doesn't matter if you actually make use of it. You just want that number.
I want it to be silky smooth.
Numbers sell. Bigger numbers, particularly.
Bigger numbers. Even if the bigger numbers actually aren't better, the fact that they're bigger is all that matters.
I don't know. Console sell at 30 frames a second.
200-second response time on this brand new monitor. You won it.
200-second response.
Console sell at 30 frames per second.
It's not
That number's
millisecond.
smaller and it sells a lot.
Not milliseconds. He said 200 seconds. 200 whole
Second
seconds.
response times.
Like you do something, and over 2 minutes later, you see it on the screen.
This monitor.
I want to give a special shout out to the L box, by the way.
Forward, and you will have perfect response time.
Oh my. Well, you could look at it on a bright side, though, is that at least, although I really say that I feel like Destiny 2 is mediocre. I got a chance to play it again, by the way. And it's still mediocre. I don't regret not actually buying that game.
To me, the campaign is mediocre. It is more fun once you get past the campaign stuff.
No, it's the multiplayer can be fun if you're running with people that you enjoy, but that's not because the game is good. That's because you've got cool people you're hanging out with.
Isn't that most games?
Actually, yeah, that's a lot of the multiplayer games out there nowadays are not actually good games. They're just a social platform and you have cool friends. That's really what it's about.
That's what gaming has become, though, is a social platform.
People who have,
Because they don't care if you like the game. They care that you buy the game.
Exactly.
If you buy the game, and peer pressure is a good way to get people to buy the game.
Yeah. I mean, and isn't that a lot of games? I mean, hey, if I have cool friends to play Need for Speed Payback with.
Nobody wants to play that 5, bruh. The one game that GameSpot gave a bad review to, and Morty can't take a shot at it.
No, what I can't
I don't know.
stop taking.
Forza is my racer of choice, so I still play Forza when I want to play some racing games. So, not my business.
What I can't stop taking shots at is fucking GameSpot giving it a 5 out of 10, and then like the next day putting out a sponsored. In other words, EA paid them to put out an actual guide, a how-to guide for Need for Speed Payback the day after they gave it a 5 out of 10, which means that game is really like a 2 out of 10, and because EA paid them and gave them a 3-point bump.
It's okay because that game ain't gonna sell for shit.
No,
I'm so mad that the game ran like shit on PC, the first one.
yeah, which is this like honestly, Need for Speed Underground 2 was awesome. I love that game. Like, and I think Most Wanted was all right, but it didn't quite capture as it felt like it was some of the stuff was a little too rehashed, and then you've got whenever you make a game where the job is to run from police, and then you're like, okay, we're gonna make this as ridiculously difficult as possible, and then I find this one spot where I can sit up on this ledge, and the cops will sit there below me, can't get up to me, and oftentimes will try to ramp up to me and crash in the result, so I just get tons of like the bounty building up on me and stuff. And I just literally walk away from the game, go make food. I'm just sitting up there, they can't even get to me. And they're like, oh, you have to outrun the police for 5 minutes. 25 minutes later, I think I'm good now. The police inclusion in Most Wanted wasn't the best, but again, I don't know if that's changed, so that's a thing, I guess.
You know, one of the things about racing games, it's kind of skill based, and like the customization game. Well, any game can be skill based, but there used to be a lot more focus on skill based on racing games. Now it's like, oh, tweak your car this way and that way.
Oh,
So, there's a little bit of skill if you got head-to-head cars, but I've been playing this game Drifter. There's no car customization in there, at least not yet that I can find. There's a high skill barrier.
Mm-hmm.
It's very physics challenging because you drive along walls or the ceiling or whatever, and trying to maintain grip through that stuff is fun. Lily's been enjoying it. She likes the crashes. They're very pretty.
There's the thing is that there's there's actually some games that are more skill based. I think Forza has a decent amount of skill required to actually beat a lot of those races. Especially
Forza is king.
It's not necessarily the best. I would say Project Cars is also a pretty decent one, but pretty much at this point, most of the EA titles, like aside from Forza, are pretty much going to the road of what Payback is doing, where it doesn't matter how good you are at racing.
That's not. I mean, yes, there are reasons to shit on any game, but yeah, that's not Forza. Forza's not EA.
No, Forza's not EA. Forza is Microsoft.
Yeah, you said also, it was EA.
Also AAA publishing. No, Project Cars is Sega.
I don't remember.
So the first, I know the first Project Cars was actually, I think, crowdfunded, but the second one, Project Cars 2, it was AAA published, and I can't remember which one.
It's loot box funded.
Yeah, no, that's
loot boxes for the win.
That's Payback.
Bandai Namco.
So Need for Speed Payback.
I think they're both Bandai Namco. Now I think about it.
Oh, are they? Okay, never mind.
I know the second one is.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought the first one was actually crowdfunded, and then they then Bandai. So we can expect, of course, Power Ranger cars in Project Cars 2. I don't know.
Go Power Ranger! I can get a Dragon Sword car.
So the thing is though is that like Need for Speed Payback, the issue with that one is that the way the AI bots are done is someone found out that if you are in a race that's too high of a quote-unquote level for the car that you have, no amount of skillful driving can actually win the race, because the AI will, even if you manage to get ahead, the AI will rubber band you, which anybody who's played like old school Nintendo games knows about. What was it called? CPU assist, I think is what it was called, or something like that, which essentially was where the computer, the AI controlled, player would cheat in order to make it more challenging for you.
It was to get around that though. Like, what was a Need for Speed 2 or 4? One of the old PlayStation, like PlayStation games in the series. But there was a car called Nemesis that would just pretty much beat you every time. But there was a way to cheat that. If you bumped the car and passed it, it would drop back to last place, and none of the other cars would be able to keep up with you. They would always hang back deliberately.
Yeah. Like what?
Something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was there was like a little glitch. You could trick out the the CPU assist and endlessly win going slow as hell.
Yeah, and like I said, they've essentially brought that back here, but instead, how they've kind of done it is where if you don't have the level 4, engine mod, which by the way aren't actually any listed engine parts, it's just pretty much level 4 engine, which of course you get from a card from a loot box that looks creepily like a slot machine. It's really,
it's by design.
Wow.
Like, we're trying to hide this anymore.
Yeah, like we're not even trying to pretend that it's not gambling anymore. But they of course.
No, once they heard that the ISRC said it's not gambling, it's okay. Charge.
Yeah, it's pretty much it. They're just like, yep, we don't give a fuck anymore. And yeah, so that's Need for Speed Payback. I don't know why we spent this long talking about this fucking game. Has there been any other fun games that people have played? I don't know why we spent this.
Wolfenstein was actually really fun.
The New Colossus.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. That's one of my favorite games that come out this year. Was Wolfenstein: The New Colossus.
I didn't see that. The major question is,
games?
Did you kill did you kill Nazis?
Mm-hmm.
So
Hundreds.
that's someone was saying that that some of the criticism of that game was that they didn't feel like it had as much I think good storytelling. It was like pretty much like, yeah, it's killing zombies, and you don't really feel like anything you're doing really has a major impact, like kind of like the in the New Order, where you felt like kind of like there was this, what you did had a bigger, grander impact, I guess I could say.
Yes. Yeah.
So
This one is more about trying to build the resistance and getting your forces together. It felt very much so like Mass Effect 2 in the kind of the scheme of having all three Mass Effect games, where it feels like just a middle story. That's how this game felt.
Okay, so
I personally liked the game, but I could understand why some people didn't. I don't think it was. I don't hold it feeling like a middle game in the trilogy is a bad thing.
Do you think that? Oh, so you think that is there actually a third game coming out?
Yeah, they confirmed this. They confirmed it's a trilogy.
Oh, okay. So that explains a lot. Yeah, that I noticed that it's always tough to do those middle games because usually by the time you've confirmed that it's a trilogy, you already have the end goal in mind, if that makes sense. And so that kind of gap between the beginning and end is always the trick.
But yeah, I do believe the goal in this is probably to kill Hitler. I wouldn't be surprised. Like the first one, you kind of meet this general. The second one, you're basically just fighting against her. She damn near killed you at the end of the first game, and you're basically just going after her in the second.
That's okay. I got to. Good God, Xaiphen, you can't spell.
And that game's supposed to be like $25 here on Black Friday. I don't know about on PC, but I know on console it's supposed to be like $25.
Can't argue with that.
So,
one.
I'm about to say, so if you find it, I think it's a damn good game for about 12 hours. I really had a blast with it.
I've been kind of delaying for buying Divinity Original Sin 2 because I know that it's probably going to go on sale very soon, and I'm kind of.
The first one didn't go on sale very often.
I got it on sale for like $15 or something like that. I think it got half off.
I eventually said screw it because I had trouble finding it on sale.
Well, it goes on sale still, and still to this day, it still goes on sale pretty frequently. So,
maybe because I'm picky and I don't really like to buy games outside of Steam.
Yeah, that's your own fault.
I just like Steam.
I know. I just it's still your own fault. But so here's the thing is that so we had the new Colossus. I heard Deathshroud09 has been playing a lot of Candy Crush recently, and he's actually finally beaten Candy Crush. How does it feel to finally beat level 1 of Candy Crush?
Well, I mean, I think I basically succeeded at life at this point. I mean, this is really like this is the height, right? Like this is the top experience. Yeah, it's been great, guys. It's been awesome.
Was it
trolling?
Realistically, I have been playing. I've been looking through mobile games, mostly trying to find like some decent card games that aren't Hearthstone.
Elder Scrolls, whatchamacallit, Gwent.
Yeah. Some just like smaller stuff. So I've been playing something like called Card Thief, which is just like really interesting. Although I don't fully understand the mechanics, it's kind of like a card stealth game. Yeah.
Card-based stealth game. So do you put the cards down quietly?
Yes.
Well, you have this kind of like stealth mechanic, and you basically you have like an avatar character, and you have to make a path through the board of cards, and you have a certain number of stealth that you have. Like you have a stealth number, and that number goes up or down depending on where you move, how far you move, if there's any guards nearby, and then it has like lighting, like torch mechanics to it and stuff. It's really interesting. It's been pretty fun. quite
this
difficult.
is what happens when you only play cell phone games.
Hey, no, like that's. See, the thing is he's our dedicated mobile expert because
Is this like when we used to have Major on and he was our
Reddit expert,
certified Reddit indie guy?
Well, I wouldn't say indies, but Reddit. Yes, he was our certified Reddit/pirate expert.
Mm-hmm.
I did what?
Insult expert.
we were trying to get him to wear an eye patch on one of the podcasts, but no. I said since he doesn't have a PC yet and he plays some mobile games, I was like, hey, yeah, tell us about the mobile games.
I'm just saying, this podcast been going for 2 years now. We've been trying to get Dutch Rod to build a PC. He keeps saying he's going to.
Yeah.
But I ain't even seen him stick around yet, bro.
You know what, man? Things get in the way.
Guns,
trucks, women.
You know, I've actually not... Hurricanes, yeah. I've actually, like, basically all the projects that I said that I was going to do, I've completely halted because I'm moving out in January.
Yeah.
For college. So basically just been saving for that.
I think the important thing though is now, to be fair, when I played
important thing is ascension.
Getting back to conversations about games rather than ascending Travis, which yes is an ongoing goal, high on the list of the Pixel Crashers, is to get Travis to ascend. But
should I start a Patreon? Like, is that something
right? GoFundMe or something. But
see, what you need to do is get Travis on Twitch. We get Travis on Twitch, and we get people to sub to buy him a PC or at least one of the new consoles. Something.
Look, right? When I was like heavy into Dota, one of the guys, like one of the more popular streamers, he got to the point where he could like quit his day job and just do streaming Twitch, and they actually like did a GoFundMe and like paid for a brand new system for him, and he like streamed himself building it too. Such a good time.
Yeah, I don't know what that's like. That would be very alien to me to stream building a computer. Anyway, so the mobile CCG games. No, I played some of Elder Scrolls Legends, and that actually was interesting, mainly because that had a more, unlike Hearthstone or Gwent, which are pretty much like, hey, just go and play against people, and there you go, and oh yeah, there's a CPU, but that's really not the focus. The focus is playing other people. Really, Elder Scrolls Legends kind of paints itself first as like a single player CCG experience, or DCG, I guess, whatever, compared to like Hearthstone, which is primarily multiplayer. And I thought that was always interesting. Have you actually tried any of the more direct Hearthstone competitors?
No, I basically just go for I think card mechanics and card like aesthetics can work really well for like smaller scale free games.
Mm-hmm.
If done correctly. It can be a really satisfying experience without putting in a ton of like effort. Or maybe effort's not the right word for it, but like you can make a lot with a little with card experiences. I haven't played, like I played Hearthstone, but I haven't played the competitors to it. But I've played games like Underhand, Card Thief, just really small experiences that don't try and push microtransactions like right in your face. Like most of the time they're there. You gotta search for them a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty much all the. Isn't that just mobile games well, okay, not a correction. It's mobile / AAA games are now pretty much all the same thing. You know, they're all microtransaction simulators. Which,
it's
you know,
basically just one big MTX.
Mm-hmm.
You know, isn't that just life? Isn't that what life is? Just one big MTX simulator.
It is at this point.
Yeah, actually, because you think about it, it's you know, buying a candy bar here, microtransaction purchase. You know, buying gasoline, microtransaction purchase. Buying a new shirt, microtransaction. Man, they just get you. And then sometimes they have...
This is exactly why I just wear around my drawers all the time.
Here's the thing, though, is that not only do you have to pay up front for the game, well, not you, your parents have to pay up front for the game, but it also has oftentimes recurring subscriptions that can be outrageously overpriced. You know, like in the form of mortgages and rent. If you guys haven't seen it, there's like this video that floats around on Facebook that's like if life were a video game, and like they more or less are saying like, yeah, the first 18 levels are pretty much a tutorial, but then you actually get out of the tutorial mode and you find out that it really had nothing to do with the main game. It's like, and it's the game is really pay to win. I mean, literally, it's the most pay to win game you've experienced. You know, the more money you have, you instant win.
So sometimes you go do a couple of levels and then you finish that arc, and then you realize that you didn't progress at all. You actually so you start the actual game.
Yep.
Behind.
Yep. And says, there's also
you have to grind to catch up.
The 4-year college levels, which really all those do is they might give you a head start on the employment story arc.
But if they don't, you actually start weaker.
Oh yeah, you actually start behind. So there's a lot of random elements in there. It's all procedurally generated, you know. and then a lot of once you hit about level 70 or 80 or so, oftentimes
that's the end of the game. That's the end game at that point.
Yeah, like the end game is retirement. That's once you hit level 65, right? That's the end game.
Well, nobody actually retires at level 65. Not with the way Social Security is. You're retiring at level 78.
Yeah, 80. Right. But the thing is that once you reach level 70 or 80, you start. The game becomes really unstable, might crash frequently and stuff. And eventually what happens is the game just shuts off. And a lot of people debate about what actually happens after the game shuts off. If you just plug into a new game or if there's an actual post game. Over? Yeah, is there a post game that you actually can go to? It's that there's an kind of an open world exploration zone that you can.
It's an endless raid.
Yeah, an endless raid. That is actually one of the theoretical post game content features that they theorize are there. There's also the one that involves.
The truth is do not pass go, do not collect $200.
Yeah, that's really what it is. But most people are just. They're kind of not sure what really happens after the game, so they just kind of like to make up stuff.
My favorite is the endless battle royale horde mode. That's my favorite in game.
And it's run by this guy that has a big hammer named named Thor. He's a really cool guy. Really cool guy.
Mm-hmm. Unless you piss him the hammer off.
Yeah.
Then I don't want to be you.
There's also don't forget there's also the one of the post game levels. It involves just endless revelry and drinking and having sex a lot. So there is also that one. Those are all just theoretical.
Slanesh, okay.
Slanesh. Oh god. No, that's not endless having sex. That's endless darkness and corruption, because Yeah, whenever you serve one of the Dark Lords of Chaos, usually things don't go well.
Unless you're the Bright Lord!
Unless, of course, you're me, in which case I say fuck the Imperium, and I'm all for,
Are you insulting Papa Nurgle, okay?
Well, no, isn't it... no, not Nurgle. What's the Chaos God of War? I like the... I like the joke that the Imperium secretly serves him without knowing it. In any case, Xaiphen, you've been quiet over there.
What? Wait, huh?
Are you awake?
No.
So how's those plains of Eidolon been?
Oh, they've been rather plain. Developing acne, there's like a infested boil in the plains of Eidolon. Yes. Yes, they're giving that game acne.
Love it.
People who play the game understand the terms I just used and can kind of realize what it actually is. People who don't know that game, it sounds absurd. There's an infested boil on the plains of Eidolon. But that game's, I still have fun with it. Still, I will continue to forever. But another couple, I've been actually playing a couple of racing games. So I tried, because my 6-year-old, she wants to play some games too. I was looking for something that's little kid friendly. Racing games is a good choice on that. I tried Race the Sun. Race the Sun is very high paced.
Well, you didn't let her play COD like all the other 6-year-olds?
Well, yeah.
Don't say that. Don't give her ideas. Please don't. Don't get her into microtransactions that young.
I'm only mad because I want to play World War II, but I don't have time to play World War II, so I'm being a responsible adult and not buying it yet.
I put her into a map with no other players or even any really AI in.
You won't even let her shoot bats?
Rainbow Six Siege, and she had fun shooting the walls. Yeah, she has some, like, her hands are too small for the controller, and definitely a mouse and keyboard would not be any better help in that. But like Race the Sun is way too fast paced for lots of people, much less her, because like the sun's setting, you've got to chase the sun in this game. You're driving a solar powered car. The sun sets on you, game over. So yeah, that one's interesting. But Drifter has a lot of fun with physics on interesting tracks. I think back to older racing games where they, instead of like, customize this car, they tried to get creative on how, the races actually worked, how your tracks worked. And you've got these futuristic cars that can fly, have boosters to grip the road. And you have to get to some points where your road just drops off. You have to fly for a short while before those boosters wear out to get to the next section of road. Or you've got a section of road that is a wall. You have to drive on that. I think it's a little bit tricky maneuvering all of that around.
So it's like a modern day version of Ridge Racer.
What?
Like a modern day version of Ridge Racer.
Racer, that's what I'm thinking of. Yes.
Kev's like, Google search, quick. What is this, Ridge Racer?
You're old enough. You should know that shit.
I know Ridge Racer on the NES.
Yeah.
I mean, the more advanced maneuvers she's had some trouble with, but the basic racing she does pretty well with. I adapted the Steam controller so she can steer and hit the gas all with just the control stick instead of trying to reach around the whole controller, because that doesn't work out so well. You
should get her Cuphead. That's a nice, easy, relaxing game.
Why would you put Dark Souls on anyone?
That's the game that all of the news journalists are like, it's too hard. We can't.
Yeah, I was about to say it's an easy game unless you're a journalist.
Yeah, that's the same.
Journalists don't know how to damn side car window, not the front windshield, but the side window. The one that's not laminate glass, just glass. It's just tempered glass. That's all it is. And
that was great. I remember. I know what you're talking about when he hits the fucking window and he's like,
hammer, and it still doesn't break.
He's like, they might break into your car like this, and he hits the fucking side window with a hammer, and it bounces off. Like, you fail at life.
On the third try, it dislodged the window from its track, so it dropped, but he still didn't break it.
By the way, pro tip for anybody, with glass, you need a focused amount of pressure, focused on a single area in the glass for it to undermine the actual crystalline structure. So if you're hitting it with a hammer, use the back side of the hammer and it will break instantly.
Yeah.
If breaking the cars on the Pixel Crashers podcast.
Yes.
Crime tips with the Pixel Crashers.
Actually, it's not about breaking into cars. That's about if you happen to be in a car and need to escape, you also need to know how to bust the window in that case.
True.
It's a glass hammer in your car. A belt cutter and a glass hammer are good safety tools on escaping a vehicle.
Yep.
Glass hammer is like a hammer, but it has a little bit of a pointed edge too. break apart that crystal structure of the glass. They're designed for that, and they work very well.
Oftentimes, what it literally is it'll be like what looks like a little round chisel tip, and it has some means of more or less clicking on the back end. And it seems silly whenever you hold it. You're like, this just clicks. Well, that clicking is just enough of a force where you can put the hammer against the glass, click it, and that's enough force to actually break it. And they're meant to be small, compact. You can fit them in your glove box. And this week in car safety survival is brought to you by the Glass Hammer Factory. Anyway,
perfect sponsorship.
Needs to give us our dues.
I feel
they gave us our dues. Why are we shilling for this company? They haven't paid us.
There's no such company.
Stop shilling.
Stop
shilling for the non-existent companies.
So in any case,
shitting on EA.
So in any case, about modern day Ridge Racer, do you have missiles that you can shoot at other cars? This is the real question.
It's not an offensive game, and I haven't gotten into any multiplayer aspects of this game yet.
Damage control all here is no.
And
just trying to figure out the fun aspects of the game, and of course Lily, being entertained by it too.
And the next question is, why don't you have a steering wheel and pedals for her to use?
Those are.
She's too young to drive.
No, she's not. 6 years old is plenty old enough to drive. Sean, you should put her in your Subaru and let her go.
Or pretend like she's driving.
It works. It works.
Not in there. That's always important.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I think since we're 37 minutes in, I think that we can probably transition to what we really want to talk about, that everybody's kind of like chomping at the bit about here. And of course, we know that that's My Little Pony. Kev has been begging me all week to talk about My Little Pony.
No, I've been wanting to talk about the Sony ponies. Giddy up!
No, we're not talking about that this week. We're going to be talking about marketing and PR and all that fun stuff.
Yeah,
and
Sony.
Yeah,
Sony fanboys. They market for PlayStation all day.
Yes, but they're not actually paid PR folks for Sony, despite they really want to be.
I even saw, what was it? Somebody on Twitter, shout out Porter Rock, calls it non-profit work.
Non-profit work.
I loved it.
It makes a lot of sense when you don't think about it. Yeah.
Well, when people damage control for their favorite corporation, it made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Non-profit work. Because they doing 20 hours of podcasts defending the Xbox One X that came out broken.
No, there's a lot of you'll see a lot of folks that are damage controlling for everybody. If it's not Xbox, it's Sony, PlayStation,
Star Wars
Battlefront 2, BioWare, but you name a corporation, there's fanboys that want to damage control.
Andromeda.
Which
I saw that. I saw the shillery from Mass Effect follower, and it was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Or BioWare follower now, excuse me. Where they tried to tell you why you're wrong for saying Mass Effect Andromeda was a bad game.
Yeah, well, the thing was, and I actually made a few quotes in a blog post that I wrote about, because I had like 500,000 things to say about Andromeda, and we're not going to talk about all of those because
there's 9 of them.
Because that's not really what we're talking about today. But no, the kind of the point that I make on there, and I can't find it. Whatever. So no, some of the quotes he made were pretty much equating that anybody who didn't like the game either was just somebody who didn't like RPGs, or was somebody who was just trying to be a hater, just to hate the game for the sake of stirring up drama. Those are the only two people that didn't like Mass Effect Andromeda.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, the thing is he's not even one of BioWare's game changers. He's just some guy who thinks he knows more than everybody else and is a patron.
I mean, are they really game changers? I like to like the term corporate slave.
Yeah. Well, no, with the ones for Battlefront, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're slaving too.
No, the game EA Game Changers for Battlefront, those guys were straight up paid shills. To be,
the Bioware ones are too.
I won't name names, but there was we'll just say there was 2 of Bioware's Game Changers. There was Game Changer A and Game Changer B. Game Changer A, I pretty much see as being a paid shill at this point, because after the game was released, that person just essentially was damage controlling the fuck out of the game. Like, oh no, I don't see any problems here. This game is fine. Like, no, it's not.
Around them.
And then there was the second Game Changer, also very much a big Mass Effect fan, who was like, this game is really not good. Like, there was several times playing through the single player story where this person would stop and be like, that literally makes no sense. Like, did I miss something? No, that was just badly written. Like, they were just like, you could tell there was that.
I want to know who had the cojones to say that.
It's the person. We'll talk about it after the stream. But because I don't like throwing out names out there. But this person earned a lot of respect from me, because they were like, "No, I'm not the biggest fan." They were very respectful about it, but you could tell they were just not the most pleased.
That's one thing. It's one thing to completely shit on it. It's another thing to respectfully say I don't like it, and it's another thing to just be a complete corporate slave.
Exactly.
I'm fine if you are paid by the company to help endorse the product, but then you don't like the product and you're honest, respectful. It's constructive criticism. Yeah. That's what I want to see.
Yep.
The problem is that they feel like because they're being paid, I have to say only good things, because the only thing that matters is that I tell people to buy the game, spend your money. Why aren't you spending your money? Get in your pockets. Get your wallet!
Well, no, and the thing is that they weren't, as far as I understand, weren't paid for the BioWare Game Changers programs. They were paid in the sense that they were paid in attention from the developer that they loved, right? Essentially, they got to go visit BioWare studios. They got to assist in some very isolated testing of the game and got to give some feedback on things, that sort of deal. That's what they were able to do, which, to be honest, isn't a terrible lot, but it kind of was trying to solidify them as being corporate shills, right? You kind of show them a little bit extra attention. It's kind of like, if I'm a salesman for any company, I buy a client tickets to a ball game or something like that. It's that kind of thing. You want to kind of let them know that you appreciate their business and them looking at you in a positive light.
Take them a can't refuse.
Now, here's the thing. There was a different scenario on N7 Day, and I tweeted about this that, well, great, I'm glad the N7 Day is now a corporate holiday. Because what did I see? I saw like a half dozen streamers streaming with the stream title #10/7, TE capital N7, right? And then you would see after that, sponsored. Yes, EA sponsored a handful of streamers, most notably those influencer BioWare streamers, to stream Mass Effect games during that day. Now, the ones who are couldn't stand Andromeda, of course, were like, okay, I'll stream Mass Effect 1 or something like that for the day.
I'll stream the good Mass Effect games.
Yeah, the good.
I think they actually only had one person, JV, that was actually streaming Andromeda. But I think parts of me think he actually liked Andromeda.
There was a bunch that were streaming Andromeda, and
I didn't see any.
#10/7 sponsored by EA BS. I will say I appreciate the fact that EA at least requires that anybody who's streaming sponsored content must disclose that it's sponsored. I can say I at least appreciate that, because I can't tell you.
Activision doesn't.
No, Activision, and the thing is that there's a lot of other, and this kind of gets into the PR discussion on here. There's a lot of companies out there that are paid marketing firms that essentially a games business, like a AAA publisher, will come to and buy advertising from them, and essentially what those companies do is they work with streamers to make what's known as embedded advertising, which is a fancy way for saying advertising, paid advertising, that is not disclosed or clearly labeled as advertising. So, like, for example, if I'm like...
It's a legal loophole to get around from saying it's a sponsored video because EA isn't sponsoring it. The promotions company is.
Exactly. It's like me holding up this conveniently placed Pepsi can. Doesn't this Pepsi taste good?
No, I was not paid by Pepsi to say that.
Yeah. Like...
It's the same thing as product placement.
I was paid by Acme Advertising.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that's the... I personally find that to be a disgustingly unethical practice, but it gets done a lot. And I don't even know, the problem is I'm not even sure how often it's done. That's the part that's kind of...
I think that's the point.
Yeah, like you don't even know where it's at. Like it's that deceptive and like that pervasive. You don't know if it's everywhere or if it's nowhere, if nobody ever does it. So
that's why you get paid shows like Maddie Plays, who's going to say whatever about your product regardless. He's going to say everything BioWare does is good.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of other ones that are... You find a game... You find a game, there's going to be like those paid shills that are essentially just that whole thing over and over and over again, and it's kind of disgusting. But that's like...
Yeah, it actually made games content online, I feel like, a lot more boring. Especially I don't want to create it as much anymore either, because you can't be 100 with people, because you're competing with all the corporate slaves.
Yeah, and the thing is that now, like, for example, some of them were popular for their content unrelated to being a corporate show, but unfortunately, like, for example, Stone Mountain 64. I've got a lot of kick out of his videos. They're like his Battlefield, Battlefield videos where he essentially goes into matches and he's like trying to talk like he's a pseudo movie military guy, like your stereotypical shit. Yeah, and unfortunately, he is now also one of EA's game changers. And so it's pretty much like I can't really see anything you're doing as in any way genuine, because now all I'm thinking about is the fact that you are paid by EA to try to make their stuff look good. Mm-hmm. And that's unfortunate.
You got to get the ones that aren't in certain publishers' pockets.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite ones that I don't think is actually in Activision's pockets, who I still kind of trust, Drifter. He's a Call of Duty guy. He's been invited out to events and stuff like that, but he completely shit on Infinite Warfare. So if he was in their pockets before, I doubt he is anymore.
What about those World War II loot boxes? Hey guys, would you like to see me open some loot boxes and get some cards? Huh? I know you want to. Look at all these ultra rare cards I got. Don't you want to buy a loot box too? Huh?
Oh, that's just Q Martin. But then he's saying buy the loot boxes from my website that I have nothing to do with, by the way, even though I own it.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about our COD World War II, where that little common area lobby where you get to watch other players open fucking loot boxes.
Oh, they delayed that shit too.
Oh, did they? Oh.
Yeah, I believe that got delayed, the microtransactions.
Interesting. I know that that's been going with EA, and we're going to get into what that is all about here in just a second, but I know that EA, and we're going to cover the timeline of events with Casino Front 2 here shortly. But EA has disabled the microtransactions for now in Casino Front. So when we do that, the first thing is that I wanted to kind of open up to you guys there is, do you think, because this is where things get gray, right? Marketing is in essence kind of deceptive, right? You're trying to make what you're selling look better. Do you guys think that there's a line where where's the line of it's okay to be a little deceptive in marketing, but where's it too much deception in marketing? Do you guys see there being a line in there?
No.
I don't think you should be deceptive in marketing. I'm one of those people too that I'm a straight shooter, and I like it when other people are too. Like, sell me the game on its own merits. You really shouldn't have to do much if the game is good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because most of the time before I buy it, especially nowadays where there's gameplay all over the place, I'm gonna watch a Twitch stream. I'm gonna watch a some GameSpot footage or something. I'm gonna look at the game and see if I want to play it. There are gonna be games where I might say, it's a franchise I love, like Mass Effect. I'll probably buy Mass Effect anyway. I love the franchise. Dragon Age, I'm on the fence. I might do that too. But most games, I'm looking at gameplay before I buy it. Period. If it's not a gameplay loop that I like, I'm not buying it. If I like the premise of it, but then when I see it in action, I'm not gonna buy it. If I just don't fuck with it. So, no reason to lie to people. At least that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Thing is, no matter what, there's always deception in marketing. That's the entire basis of it. You can trace it to the price tag of whatever 99 or the plus sales tax or any other crap like that. What you look at when you're first shopping around versus what you get once you're done buying the product is not going to be the same to some degree or another. And that is, an inherent deception in marketing that will always be there.
I never understood the whole 99 plus tax deal. I was like, just tell me how much it is.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is people have just grown to accepting this. And because of that, you're not going to see a full overhaul of the system. And because there are small deceptions like that, that will always leave a foot in the door for larger deceptions.
Well, it's so first of all, I don't see marketing as going anywhere. Marketing is a $200 billion industry annually. Every year, there's $200 billion going to marketing.
Marketing itself isn't necessarily bad, though. Marketing isn't so much the problem as much as how you market.
That's true. I mean, but how often do you see marketing, professional marketing, that is completely 100% honest? You're usually trying to, even if you are not trying to make your product look unrealistically good, you are usually omitting its faults. Right. So
isn't that part of too? It's the way of the world. It's not my job. It's not marketing's job to do anything but make you want to buy the game.
Yeah.
And it's so what they're gonna do? This is the best part. This is the best part. This is the best part. This is what you can do here. This is what you can do there because this is what's gonna sell the game.
Hey, the thing is what's great about marketing is that if you have to really work hard at it, it really gives you that sense of achievement and that sense of you've accomplished something.
Mm-hmm. But
by the way, that's what EA said about that was the quote from the infamous 700,000 downvoted comment that EA made. Yes, those loot boxes give you a real sense of accomplishment and make you feel like you really earned something.
It wasn't about the loot boxes. It was about the grind. You really accomplished something if you spent 40 hours to unlock a character. And shout out to all the tiers on my timeline on Twitter yesterday. People were mad when I made the comment. What I said, don't take Star Wars Battlefront removing the microtransactions as a victory. Because it'll still take 40 hours to unlock Darth Vader. Now, apparently, I didn't know they changed that. I didn't know that. Yeah. But the amount of rage that I saw on my timeline yesterday, their tears were delicious.
Here's the thing, is that the game itself is still based upon loot box gambling.
Mm-hmm. It's still loot box progression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is not an actual progression system. That's gambling. It's hey, maybe I'll get the best stuff 5 minutes in, and then I'm done playing. Or maybe it takes me 500 hours to unlock the best stuff. See, that's the thing, is that that's not progression. That's random chance. There's no such thing as RNG progression. That's just not the way it works. And I hate that where people say, oh, it's good progression. And that's one of the problems I even have about Warframe. That's not.
You know the kind of progression I like? The best video game progression I ever saw was Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, where you played the game and you progressed. After a few games, you would gain a new level. You'd unlock a couple new guns or attachments. Great. It was all based on what level you were. With the loot boxes that started, at least for Call of Duty and Advanced Warfare, the loot boxes just gave you variants of guns. It gave you like this gun. It was the same gun with different perks.
Well, like in Modern Warfare 3, which was the last Call of Duty I really got into, they had a nice progression system on there. Well, sort of. It had its flaws, to be sure, but you leveled up, right? And you got guns as you leveled up. Xaiphen, you might step in and correct me if I'm misremembering this because it's been a while. But as you leveled up your character, you unlocked more guns. As you leveled up those guns, you unlocked attachments for those guns.
I believe that's the way it went.
Yeah, if I remember right. You also got like other like kill streaks and perks and stuff. I couldn't remember if those were tied to player level. But the point is that you were always getting something new and you were always unlocking new stuff. And the downside, of course, is that there's always better better guns. Some guns are just better than other ones. But the thing is that I think it was was it Black Ops 2 that unlocked the essentially, oh, don't worry about leveling up to progress these things. You can just pick a perk that, or you get to unlock the gun you want whenever you want, and that's omitted from the leveling up timeline now.
Are you talking about when you went to Prestige, you got to keep one?
Yeah.
I think Black Ops 2, I believe, was the first that did that.
I
like that system because I don't want to have to reset. And then lose the gun that I have at like level 30.
No. So it wasn't that one because I think that was in Modern Warfare 3 too. I think you got to pick one thing that stuck after you prestiged.
Prestige, everything reset at least 1 through 3. I haven't played much outside of that. I tried to get into the original Black Ops and then tried to get into Black Ops 2, and I failed on both of those.
Mm-hmm. But Black Ops 2 is one of my favorite mods. It was also my first. So.
Prestige, you reset everything.
Yeah. But in any case, though, I think it was Ghosts that I played, that it was literally like I somehow got a one of those points, or a couple of those points right off the bat, and I could immediately just unlock a gun that was higher up on the level, and I'm like...
Ghosts didn't do that.
I thought it was Ghost. I was pretty certain.
No. Ghosts had where you earn coins.
Yeah.
And you can unlock whatever gun you want based on the coins, but they weren't tied to microtransactions.
No.
I'm not for the level.
I'm talking about just a progression system. No, there was no microtransactions, and I think Advanced Warfare was the first game that actually put in.
Yeah, it was Advanced Warfare.
But no, what I mean is the fact of you having a progression where you are earning stuff as you continue playing the game. And I think it was Ghost that I played, I think is the one that actually kind of just threw that out the window. It was like, yeah, no, you don't have to worry about progressing stuff. Just get whatever you want. And I feel like that's kind of was the beginning of where Call of Duty's at now, where it's pretty much like, yeah, you get guns and shit, but really if you get in the loot boxes, you can get new grips and new handles and new scopes, and that's where the cool shit's at. By the way, do you want to see your buddies unlock those loot boxes as well? See what cards they get, huh? Am I right? Does that make you want to buy a loot box too? But, so with Casino Front though, right, so Casino Front, they first... they came out and they obviously took 40, they actually did the math and said that it would take some 4,100 hours to unlock everything in the game. And that's just base content in the game, not any additional content added later. Or around $2,000, they estimated. $2,000 fucking dollars to unlock everything.
Who legitimately puts $4,000 into one game? 4,000 hours, excuse me.
Yeah.
Oh, say.
I was going to say dollars. Look at the microtransactions for, was it Train Simulator? Train Simulator has was it $10,000 worth of unlockables in that game.
I kind of mean the same for both, because at the same time, I don't personally buy into microtransactions. At most, you're going to get from me, I might buy the game at full price, and I might buy the DLC.
Yeah, so the thing...
I don't mind DLCs. Like, I'm about to buy the DLC for Destiny. Like, I don't mind that, because I'm really... But I don't do that for most games.
Yeah, because you do that with your Razer hardware.
I have not had to replace my Razer hardware for anything since I bought all of it.
He just had to throw in that bird. He was just like...
Effortless.
Razer Master Race in this bitch.
By the way, Kev, why don't you have the Razer phone yet with the $70 Razer earbuds?
Because I don't buy expensive phones. I always get the free one or the cheap one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds to me, honestly, you just need to get in. Like, you're not a true Razer fanboy until you have that Razer phone. Am I right? Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
But so here's the thing, though, is that so there are people that spend that much money on here. And I think a misconception that I constantly hear is that, oh, these are just people with more money than sense. Or, hey, if you've got that kind of disposable income, you should be allowed to buy that. The thing that I never notice anybody make mention of is that what if the people spending that much for microtransactions don't have that kind of disposable income?
Whether they just don't have the willpower to not do it.
Yeah, for example, there is a such thing, and it's a legitimate medical condition, just like alcoholism, called gambling addiction. Yeah, it's a real thing, and all the loot boxes in those games trigger all the same mental responses. Like I said, with Need for Speed Payback, they were just like, fuck it, why do we even bother making this not look like a slot machine? Because that's exactly what it fucking looks like. And
thing, like, people with gambling addiction is the root of the addiction is not looking at, okay, we're going to win something. They're not looking at the winnings on that. That addiction is not looking at the winnings. That addiction is looking at the random chance draw effect. So that's what these people are willing to, and they can't help it, willing to give up house and home to spend money onto their addiction.
Well, and the thing is mainly the psychological effects of gambling, and what it does is it's the rush of winning. Not of winning. It's the rush of potentially is like that risk of losing gives them a rush. It's not even so much the winning. Yes, if they win, that kind of thrills them because they feel like they've triumphed the system. But it's really the risk of losing that gives them that thrill. But that's not the marketing angle of it. The marketing angle of it is that whenever EA came out with the loot boxes and the gambling and all that stuff on there, and it took so long, and people actually found out the length of the gambling on there, and they made a fuss about it. The first thing EA did was they made a minor tweak. If I remember right, the first time was that they didn't reduce the time it took yet. They made some very minor tweak at first, and people were like,
a minor insignificant tweak, mind you.
Yeah, and most people were like, oh, look, they've made that change. They're listening to us, guys. And that's what we're gonna get into. That's the titular PR campaign that we're talking about here. Make the outrage outdated. So the tactic there is that if you release a product, somebody doesn't like something about it, you make a minor tweak to it, get like media outlets and so on to publish that you've made that change, which then overwrites the criticism in a lot of people's minds. You've made the outrage outdated. And that's kind of the tactic on there. And that's like the question I want to pose to you guys first before we kind of go on to the next stage of what happened on the EA story here. Do you guys think that there's a way to combat that, as a consumer market from a like as consumers as a whole, do you think there's a way to combat that kind of PR strategy? I asked a difficult question, so everybody's quiet.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Best, I mean, like to start off things, exposure. That's the best help on that. But like things calm down over time over one particular subject because another subject catches people's interest and they focus more on that than they do the original. And unless there's a way to resurface that after the distraction has faded away, you will lose track of people. The people in the whole will lose track of what they were upset about to begin with. So yeah, it is difficult to combat, make the outrage outdated. It's possible, and obviously the first step is exposure on it, making people aware of, the fact that the companies are trying to keep keep these issues obscured.
I think one of the other key things that make this PR strategy work is the current journalist environment, in that journalists oftentimes do not do the requisite research, right? That was one of the key components of it, was that the journalists will release that, there was a change made, but they won't release the exact amounts of like the actual substantive changes. They just say, like they changed this, but like how much did they change it? Did they change it 1%, 50%? Nobody knows. Is it actually a significant change?
Like even making a percentage reference isn't enough either. They, you need to get into more details on that, on what they changed.
Well,
they changed it.
I think you're understanding, but I think that it goes even farther than that. Of like the current media market, as you said, they operate off of clickbait, right? And if they say, like, outrage over Battlefront 2, and everybody's going to click on that story to read about what the outrage is. And then next week, EA has made a change. They love everybody. So everybody's going to click on that to see what change they made. Most people don't even read the full article. They just see the headline and say, EA's fixed it. That's all they know is that headline. The EA fixed the problem. And yeah, and so at that point, now there's that public perception that the EA has made a significant change and fixed the problem, which they really have not at all. And I think that comes to the whole desire of to make money out of journalism, which obviously is a business. They want to make money. I get it. I understand. It's a tricky situation to be in, of wanting to be profitable but also wanting to be ethical. But I think that if you want to be a journalist and call yourself a journalist, then ethics is not a choice. It's not an option that you get to throw away whenever money is concerned. If you just want to be like TMZ and be a gossip magazine or whatever, then fuck ethics. You don't have to worry about ethics. You just worry about the money. But don't call yourself a fucking journalist, and don't call your outlet a news outlet. It's not. It's a gossip mag. That's really what it is. You're a blog site. And that's what a lot of them have become, is blog sites. The funny thing about it, though, is that they're strangely opinionated whenever they're criticizing gaming communities. They're very opinionated there.
You know why?
But
they didn't pay any bills.
But when it comes to corporations that they might post a story about, there's strangely a lack of any real criticism or opinion in there. They literally report exactly what the corporation says.
Here's the thing, and I'm going to pick on the gaming journalism sites a little bit too, because this is the big part of the problem. Yep. If I go to IGN.com and I have to turn off my ad blocker in order for this to work, I bet you that most of the ads that I see there are going to be ads for video games. Right now I'm looking at IGN.com. There's an ad on there for the Switch and Rocket League.
Yep.
That's the problem. Why don't I have a Campbell's Soup logo there? Why don't I have Chevy? Why don't I have something that is not video game related advertised on your website? Schick razors. Something there that's not like it's biting the hand that feeds you at this point. I can't shit on Nintendo because Nintendo is keeping the lights on. And if I say something bad about Nintendo, if I say something bad about Sony, if I say something bad about Battlefront 2, they're going to pull advertising dollars, and I have to keep them happy. You're going after the wrong people for your advertising.
Well, no.
That puts your ethics in question.
Well, here's the thing, is that targeted advertising, I think, has become a problem because when you look at it, they're advertising the right people. You're going to IGN. What are you going there? Gaming-related information. So what are the most pertinent ads going to be there? Gaming-related ads, right? So that makes sense. The problem becomes is if you look at all the previous ads, before, like ads in a newspaper, ads on TV, ads on the radio, all those previous forms, they would just kind of throw out general ads to general people, not targeted or anything like that. And they had to, for the time, obviously, ad spending has increased over the years, no matter what. But for that time, I would imagine that the statistics show that the amount of money they were throwing out to advertising was significantly lower than the actual turnaround on those ads got. Whereas now, where Facebook and Google and those sites can target ads to people specific demographics, they probably get a much higher turnaround for the ad money that they're spending. And I think that's really what it's about for those like Nintendo and EA and these publisher companies and that sort of thing that are advertising. They want to target directly at the audience that is going to be buying their product. They don't want to throw out gaming ads in a fucking like in a church. Because there may be some gamers in a church, but it's going to be a small portion of the demographic. They want to
no, go ahead. They want to hit what?
I was going to say they want to hit an area that has a high concentration of potential customers. Like I said, that's where the church example, most people in a church are probably not going to be playing video games. I mean,
it depends on whether or not it's the Church of Gaben, but...
Well, I don't know. I've been to churches where they still encourage video games. A lot of people there play video games. They just don't play certain video games.
Yeah, fair enough.
They'll play Madden, they'll play 2K and FIFA and Forza. You're just not going to catch them playing Gears of War.
I guess I should rephrase that. How about games advertisement in a bingo hall?
The way some of these games are, they belong in a bingo hall,
right? Because there's just so much gambling. But no, that's the thing is that's kind of where I feel is that's why they target like that. But I think at the same time, yes, that the inevitable downside of that targeted advertisement, as you pointed out, Kev, was the fact that it creates that conflict of interest.
And that's why I think they need to go until that conflict. Cause I get what you're saying, and I understand that. I don't disagree with that, but until we can find a happy medium, I think they really need to go maybe more with Google AdSense or something like that for their websites. Well, they're already all on YouTube anyway. I think they're probably making more money on YouTube than they are on their actual websites.
Well, they may be going with AdSense, and AdSense, the thing is that so you got two sides.
I don't see the embedded deal or anything for AdSense. Usually you see the little AdSense logo on, at least on IGN's website.
Yeah.
I can't talk about it. I'm just looking at IGN right now.
So the thing is, and I'm not necessarily saying AdSense, I'm saying like any competitor company to Google in that sense. Essentially how they operate is that I get coding to embed the AdSense framework into my website for banner ads or side ads or whatever, right? And then Google handles the ad distribution. An advertiser comes to Google and says, hey, here's the demographics we want to hit. Here's the target demographics for our product. And Google's like, cool, we'll advertise to those things. Well, IGN, flagged as a gaming website, So that AdSense is going to say, okay, we want to target ads towards gaming demographics. We've got Nintendo, we've got EA, we've got, blah, blah, all these guys advertising their stuff. So they're going
to... We also have Taco Bell.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, that's... Yeah, you got Taco Bell, you got the munchie places, right? Doritos, Mountain Dew.
And that's kind of my point. Like, there's a lot of ways to target gamers without having to say, oh, well, I'm just going to give you Nintendo ads. Because gamers are already there. Chances are that most gamers, and I've learned most gamers on the internet, I should say, at least from what I can see, they've already made their choice.
Yeah.
They're with their brand, and for the most part, they're going to stick there. They ain't leaving unless the company does something to really piss them off.
So my thing...
So they already know what's going on their platform.
Mm-hmm.
So again, to me, it makes more sense, promote Campbell's. This way, Campbell's doesn't give a fuck if you say something bad about a video game.
Yeah. And that's my thing, is that I personally feel like that there's too many journalists out there nowadays that are essentially like they like with fucking GameSpot. They rate Need for Speed Payback a 5 out of 10, but then they're like they're doing a sponsored ad video for the game. Like, come on, have some integrity in your damn job.
They don't. They have no integrity, because the people who are paying the bills are the same people who are trying to promote.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Like, and until they do that separation, it's kind of like with in the government politics. Until we get that money out of politics, until we get this game developer, game publisher money out of gaming journalism, it's always going to be a problem.
And that's the thing is, and the reason to clarify to any viewers, the reason why we're focusing on media so much is because it is a key component of this PR strategy. In order to push a make the outrage outdated campaign, you need media to publish your stories, that your minor changes. They need those headlines out there to kind of wash away the negative opinions. And that also, you also end up with some unintentional social media outrage stuff that happens that turns out not so much true, and we're going to get to that. Another facet of this, though, is social media. So one of the things that does a good job of make the outrage outdated, and tell me how many fucking times you've seen this happen, right? Something comes out that is crazy unpopular. A lot of fans screaming about it. And
there's one of those every week.
And you inevitably hear that a developer received death threats over this very unpopular thing, right? Now,
so start throwing hand grenades.
No. Now, here's the thing. First and foremost, it is very probable that there are trolls out there that throw death threats at people because they're on the internet, they're anonymous, and some people are pieces of shit. I mean, that is very, very likely true. However, something that I notice on here is that a lot of times these claims of death threats don't come with any actual screenshotted evidence of the death threats. They're usually just, man, I've just received so many death threats over this stuff, and that's all they ever say. And you'll notice, all of a sudden, people flock and be like, you shouldn't be threatening developers, or even if this is unpopular, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, the conversation becomes about consumers threatening the developers, and now you've turned the narrative around, right? It's no longer the consumer that's being slighted by this corporation. It's now the consumers that are doing something wrong, right? And all of a sudden, now the outrage is all outdated. Cha-ching.
I've been seeing in arguments. They're not even debates, because debates don't work like this.
Yeah.
It's political marketing, any of this. There was a comedian years ago. It was a very funny bit. People are actually using this technique in real life now, which makes it sad and scary, not funny. But there was somebody that was yelling at him. He's like, well, I'm going to argue with you, but I'm not going to argue with what you want to argue about. I'm going to have my own argument.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts shouting something completely different back at the person, scares them off. Like, yeah, that's hilarious. It's funny as hell. Not anymore. sad part is people are arguing against, other issues. They're arguing about something different, but they're making it sound similar. So it confuses people what the issue actually is.
It's called a straw man. Deliberately misrepresent the opponent's position to a subject that is easier for you to defeat. So in the case of, like me having like more or less accosting and criticizing EA for for doing something greedy or whatever, and I call them a greedy profiteering corporation or whatever, and someone's like like, you need to stop attacking these people at this corporation. Like, all of a sudden now you've turned me into someone who is attacking people rather than a corporation, a corporate entity.
Or an idea.
Exactly. And it's like, a corporate entity is not a person. It is controlled by people. People work for it. But it depends on your government's views. And you're absolutely right. A lot of people do that. They deliberately warp what you're saying. Funny enough, not to just dwell on this fact, but one of the key groups of people that are guilty of misrepresenting positions in order to get better clickbait is the media. We're going back to this again. But no, so the thing with that whole, like, threatening developers, right? That actually happened in this debacle with EA, right? So there was a guy who was tweeting out, made it sound like a lot of what he was saying made it sound like he was working for EA. His Twitter profile said he worked for EA. And as any time an EA conversation would come up, he would say, we, as in EA, have this view or whatever. And a lot of his phraseology and the way he worded things kind of sounded like he did work for EA.
He's a fraud.
And then after the outrage of Battlefront 2 started coming out, and he was like, I've received 7 death threats and 1,600 personal attacks, and yes, I'm keeping track for legal reasons. But we never saw any actual evidence that he was threatened. He didn't screen cap any threats, anything like that. He just claimed he received death threats. And all of a sudden, everybody was like, all the major YouTubers out there and news outlets and all of them are all of a sudden saying how deplorable it is that consumers would threaten developers working for these companies, and all of a sudden now the Battlefront controversy is a little bit less powerful, right? Because now there's death threats. Those are more serious. Come to find out, he doesn't even work for EA. And to be fair, now this is the part that cracks me the fuck up. Of all the news media sites who actually did their fucking job and researched this, Kotaku. You done fucked up when Kotaku is the voice of journalistic ethics. I'm just throwing that out there. It's fucking IGN, GameSpot. We'll leave Polygon out of it. They're not even a news site anymore. All of those sites. Kotaku's the one that actually did the research and said, I can't really find any evidence that this guy actually even works for EA. And when I asked him about it, his Twitter profile magically changed to remove all references of EA. And all the tweets he made about EA magically got deleted.
Because EA lawyers magically appeared at his doorstep.
No, what I think it is, my suspicion. Now, there's a couple possibilities. This is not the guaranteed one. A couple possibilities. He could just be an EA fanboy that's trying to damage control for them. That's true. My thought is that he was a PR agent for a third-party firm that was employed by EA. So not EA themselves, but a company that EA hires for this, that was out there deliberately in a social media campaign to try to counter a lot of the negative hype on the game. That's my theory.
I like the first one where he just was there to damage control.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that he's just an EA fanboy that's just trying to, because he feels because I can imagine this. like an EA fanboy that's like, I work for EA, because people then look up to you and respect you as some cool guy, and it makes you super popular. I could see some dude doing that, like some really kind of sad person that apparently doesn't really have a lot of confidence in their own life to that they need to pretend to be someone they're not. But
33-year-old virgins.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is that it's still possible, and I think it's highly likely that that was actually deliberate PR, because of the stuff he was saying was always very. It was very carefully worded stuff and very kind of trying to take heat off of EA, and that's kind of where I'm like. But that's also part of the make the outrage outdated PR tactic, right? And that comes to the next question I want to pose to you guys. When a company or a member of a company is interacting online in some official capacity for the company, not hey, I happen to work for this company and I'm also tweeting about how much I hate dogs on the internet. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about I am an EA spokesperson or on an EA Twitter account or whatever, and I'm talking as a person of EA. Do you think that there should be some actual standards set for how I communicate with the public?
No.
No?
At what point do you become a person versus you become an employee? You can't be an employee 24/7.
Well, that's why I said that's why I said when you're speaking on behalf of the company as an official spokesperson or from a verified account.
Oh well, yeah. If that's your job role, do it. Otherwise, don't. Like, I don't want to see random. I'm going to go back to game journalism. I don't want to see Ryan McCaffrey running around if he's not paid from IGN to say this and that about IGN. Then I really don't want to hear about his thoughts on IGN. Like, talk about your regular shit. You can talk about games. Talk about the barbecue you went to last weekend. Don't care. But if you are not a spokesperson if you're not the official spokesperson, shut the hell up.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. Travis? Xaiphen?
My is like, what kind of standard are you looking for? A standard set by,
there are already standards set for the way that people talk, like employees talk for their company in an official capacity, right? Like, the company set those standards.
What I mean is, like, are you looking for a standard that we should see as people that we are looking for, or a standard set by the company? Because a standard set by a company is entirely up to them. If they want to let a loose cannon off, that's their own problem.
Yeah, well, and that would be Manveer Air. And him drinking white tears, and I'm sure that had absolutely nothing to do why he doesn't work for BioWare anymore. No, what I mean is, and I should have clarified this, as some way to clearly identify an actual verified employee of a company. So not someone that's just claiming to work for a company. And also a, clearly define what's your own personal belief and what is the, you sharing, what I'm looking for is, so there's a lot of, like, say, BioWare developers whom may have personal beliefs that diverge greatly from the actual company's line, right? And when they are tweeting about those things, they may be very divergent and very, a lot of people may not like them. But that's not, that there's no problem there. They aren't required to. I'm just saying, like, should there be a kind of, should EA and or other companies have a clear, this is what you're allowed to talk about, there, and also publicly, not company related, should there be a way to have an official verification of someone worked for this company?
Like the Twitter chat.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Have like a little EA, of like icon next to your name if you're an official EA employee.
Well, if you're an EA employee representing EA, now things can be tracked down where people are, with some effort, no matter what. But like say, this is an issue I dealt with in the military where, yeah, there is freedom of speech, but it's not 100%. There's not like, oh, you could just say whatever the hell you want. There's certain things I can say if I head that off with, as a service member, I believe in blah, blah, blah. Well, there's a gray area on how I was able to tread that line on some things that I was able to say as a representative of the military. However, I'm not in the service, and if I have opinions now that disagree with their rules, I'm no longer under those restrictions because I'm not saying, oh, as a soldier, this is what we all feel. I can say, as no longer a soldier, this is what I feel. And there's no issues, there's no problems there with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would feel, I feel the same thing should apply in the private sector too, to businesses. It's up to them as far as policing that. They should not have an overreach on what they're policing. If somebody is not speaking in official capacity, not pretending to speak in official capacity, then that person should be entitled to their personal opinion and should be allowed to, put it out to the public, as long as they're not saying, claiming to be representing the company that they work for while stating their opinion. Now, obviously, if they get traced back to their work, the company can say, well, has everything on the table they need to say, well, this person, may work for us, but their opinion is not representing our own.
Yeah.
And
and a lot of people say that too on there. The opinions on this Twitter account are of my own.
Yeah. That's kind of a standard disclaimer, and I kind of like a lot of it. What I run into is that it would be very easy for me right now to change my create a new Twitter account that just name it John Doe blah 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 whatever, it doesn't matter, and then claim that I work for a company that I don't, and then start spewing off like stuff that negatively impacts or positively impacts that company. And there's no way for anybody to really check it. And here's the thing is that
I work for Bethesda, and Elder Scrolls 6 is never coming out. Fuck y'all.
No, it'll come out, don't worry, because the Creation Club demands it. They need
Skyrim.
They need to put that final nail in the coffin of the Nexus mods, and the only way they can do that is by releasing Elder Scrolls 6. Mark my words, everyone. Don't worry. Nexus is done for. Bethesda will get rid of it. I know that triggers the fuck out of all of you Bethesda fanboys out there.
The fuck out of me. Our Creation Club.
Like, that is... yeah, I'm not going to diverge onto that topic. That's a whole other can of worms. Anyway,
so I had something I wanted to say earlier in regards to that the post that you were talking about with the outrage or whatever, the make the outrage outdated.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that like I said in his post was talking about how companies, they bake into their plans that a certain amount of people will dislike their system, their microtransaction system, their progression system,
mm-hmm.
and they'll just quit. But that's baked into the plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
A certain amount of people will quit, but you have to think that, like, you as a games company, you also have to understand that, like, you have to market to your niche, right? Regardless, I mean, for the most part, you will understand that not everybody's going to like your game, but you want to, like, get as many people as you can to enjoy that type of game. However, you have things, when you have a system set up that is basically throwing to the wayside people who actually like the game, and in the post they talked about how, like, the people who, just like buy the game are less important than the people who pay into the microtransaction system, right?
Yep.
Because that's where the money's at.
Yeah,
yep.
That's where the money's at. So basically, your target demographic for your game starts to become gambling addicts, right?
Yep.
Which is highly reprehensible.
I saw a post on the PC gaming subreddit about a week ago, and the guy said we're at a point now, and he was using Clash of Clans for an example, where he said people that don't buy into the microtransactions are still part of the problem. Because they're enabling the whales. We're at the point now where the game is marketed to the whales and the free players are the product. You go in there, you raid, you destroy the free players, and you have a good time doing it.
Yep.
You expect the free players to leave because they're not going to enjoy getting destroyed, and some new ones will come in.
Yep.
And we are at a point now where if you just pay the $60 for the game, you are essentially a free player.
Yep. And that's well, and the other thing kind of on the on the marketing of it is they highly expect the two factors they go in there is distillation and time, right? So we'll call it distillation and aging, right? They're trying to make a good alcohol, a good whiskey, if you will. You know, you've got to age it, and you've got to distill it properly, right?
I'm not sure if I enjoy this. I like my whiskeys, all right.
so they want to distill out as many of the quote unquote dud players, right? And then they also want to make you have to play a long enough time which will help in distillation, right? It'll help weed out the non-paying players, and then it will also increase the chances that a non-paying player will convert and end up paying more money. That's kind of the whole concept of grindiness and your Destiny 2s and those sort of things. Although Destiny 2 doesn't really, their Bright Ingrams aren't really into the performance aspect of it, but there are games out there like, I don't know, for example, Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer that the idea...
Destiny's microtransactions are just cosmetic.
Yeah, they're all cosmetic. But, the thing is that they try to make the grind tedious enough for you to be enticed to buy. And Warframe is very notorious for doing this. The difference on there is, and the reason why I don't have an ethical problem with the way that they do it, is that the stuff that you're typically grinding for example, a new Warframe or whatever, if you want to buy, they're enticing you to buy it, you just buy that thing you want. You directly buy
on the lottery.
Yeah, you're not gambling. So it's not appealing to gambling addicts. It's appealing to impatient people, which, to be fair, it still can potentially be its own manipulative thing. That's a different topic on here, but it's not as unethical to me. It's just, to me, I think they've gone a little overboard on the grindiness. Whatever. The last portion on here, and this is their Hail Mary pass, right? So the last part, and before we kind of close up shop here, EA's last step after they've made several attempts to make varying grades, like increasing grades of changes to the game to try to outdate the Rage, which has not worked thus far. Their final last-ditch effort, after the internet started fucking tweeting Disney. They started tweeting Disney that Disney needed to pull the Star Wars license from EA because they were advertising gambling to children. God damn, I love you, internet. You're fucking great. Never change.
Did you see the clip they made? It was Mickey Mouse calling EA pissed off, which was even better. Like, you better fix this.
So there has been a lot of suspicion on there that that Disney was the proponent behind EA shutting down the microtransactions in Casino Front 2, which I don't know if there's actually corroborated evidence behind that. The point is, though, is that they said, we're shutting off the microtransactions for now, which means that seems like the Hail Mary attempt to make the Outrage outdated. Shut down the microtransactions. It's no longer pay to win, guys. However, in an SEC filing, which I tweeted about as well, they said they made an SEC filing to shareholders saying that it will have no material impact to the 2018 financial year earnings. In other words, they plan to turn the microtransactions back on soon. Yeah. By the end of the year or early into next year, they're going to have microtransactions back.
Give it a month.
Yeah, give it a month, 2 months max. They're going to have it back on, which what that tells me is that they're hoping that this Hail Mary pass will cause the controversy to die down enough over the next 2 months that they can bring back those pay-to-win microtransactions or those gambling.
And they'll probably bring them back in the original form.
Yeah, and
by then, all the people who weren't going to buy that wanted to buy the game are going to buy it because your game hits its most sales in those first 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's
after those 2 weeks are up, they bring them back. The people who are playing the game beat the campaign, only played it for 2 weeks a month anyway, they're gone. Who cares?
Well,
it's not, them what they wanted.
It's not just that. On there too is that since the game is based off of these RNG gambling mechanics on here, chances are high that a lot of your casual players that might also be converted into gambling, players, have not yet unlocked all the stuff that still requires probably over 1,000 hours of gameplay in order to unlock it. So when they reintroduce the microtransactions, and they'll try to do it as quietly as possible, once they reintroduce those microtransactions, it's designed to target the people who've been playing for a bit, who are really frustrated that they can't just buy what they want, and then they're going to just jump on those and start spending money like crazy. That's really to me what I think the target aim of it is. But that's kind of the last piece on there, is that this most recent change is kind of the last ditch attempt for them to make your Outrage outdated. In any case, let's go ahead and go to our final thoughts, everyone. Travis, final thoughts. Do you feel outdated?
All the time.
Yeah, basically all the time. I feel outdated.
It's because you haven't ascended yet and you still have a 360.
Strangely feel like a potato.
Because you play on a potato.
Because I play on a potato. I mean, I am gonna be getting a new laptop for college.
A Chromebook.
But we'll have a 1060 in it or better.
Guys, it's gonna be a Chromebook. It's gonna be so amazing. It's gonna have an i1.5 processor in it.
I'm actually gonna go for
play Chrome.
It's going to be
gonna go for like a cheaper, lighter one. But we'll see. We'll see if that affects my gaming at all.
Just get a Razer phone.
Yeah.
I really hope EA crashes and burns. They are a plague upon the gaming community and the gaming industry as a whole.
BioWare.
You know what?
Take their BioWare with them.
You know what?
Yeah.
They're taking BioWare with them already. BioWare is already headed to the ground.
And the thing is that because
I really hope, when you say that now, I really hope for a spiritual successor to Mass Effect.
Here's my thing. If BioWare crashes and burns with EA, it's not like those developers just disappear into a void. Respawn, which got bought by EA, comically enough, is a testament to that. So Respawn was Infinity Ward back in Modern Warfare 2's era, and then there was some controversy over their pay or whatever, and then a bunch of them got laid off or they left or whatever.
Because they were trying to start another studio while they were still working for Infinity Ward, I think.
No, they started that after they left. They were
the studio
because they had a pay dispute with Activision.
Yeah, right. And so they left, and then they went and formed Respawn. And part of it was that Infinity Ward wanted to make something other than Call of Duty. They wanted to make Titanfall for Activision. And then they formed Respawn Entertainment, got EA to buy into it. God, is Activision kicking themselves now?
No, they're not, because the first Titanfall sold like hotcakes, but it didn't have content, so people left quickly. Which I don't think EA minds. Second one, they basically just sent to the slaughter. Hey, here you go. Let's release right between Battlefield and Call of Duty. Good luck. My jinx!
Yeah, but
basically what happened to Titanfall.
The thing is, though, is that were EA to collapse tomorrow, taking all of their studios with them, you now have hundreds of now independent and free developers that can develop the games that they really fucking want and not corporate fucking profiteering bullshit.
And you know what? EA already has a history of shutting down studios holding on to IP and never doing anything with it. You know, we can how many IPs can we count right now that EA has shelved? Right. For pretty, you know, for the foreseeable future, right? They're not going to do anything with it. They're just going to hold on to it, right? So
the funny thing that kind of sucks about this too, when we talk about EA killing studios,
there's a concept of cutting off the arm to save the body, right? And I feel like if EA just gone today, we would have a lot more IP and studios that wouldn't get pushed into the ground.
Because Titanfall 3 is, I think, is doomed to fail. Titanfall 3 is either going to be the best game in the series or it's done.
Well, okay.
And Respawn's going with them.
To be fair, Respawn was already pretty much an EA studio. Like, they produced, 2 games, both funded by EA? It was a formality. Nothing's really changed. They're just, you know, now officially, they just have official EA branding on them. Like, you know, before it was they had a temporary...
I played Titanfall 2. I played both Titanfalls. EA brand was all over that game.
Yeah, no, like, so previously they had a temporary tattoo on their ass that said EA. Now they've just got the official cattle brand stamped on there. So, you know, that's the only difference. But no, I would not be opposed to see pretty much all the major AAA publishers crash and burn and this bubble collapse on them. And then all of those developers are now free to be independent developers and make their own fucking games. Because there's literally no reason for corporate AAA publishers to exist. In any case...
Well, I mean, when they exist and they release early access games, Bethesda. And with microtransactions, Bethesda. Yeah, I'm talking about Quick Champions.
Yeah, no, there's that's...
I see EA not as a game company. I see them, and you know, they're a publisher. They're a money factory, but they're also. I think the thing about EA is that they're very much so like marketing, right? That is what they do.
That's part of publishing. Years. Publishing is literally making the game ready and able to be sold. That includes physical copy distribution, digital distribution, advertising. You know, budgeting for the game's actual R&D. They handle like pretty much all of the stuff except for actually making the game. And then they also want to stick their feet in the doors of developing the game in order to make it more profitable.
What I'm trying to get at is that like EA specifically, right? EA specifically, the way that they have marketed and like the weird like experimental like crazy stuff over the years that I've seen EA do, right? Pretty much always kind of unethical and tasteless. I mean, Dante's Inferno, stuff like that. You know, they do this. These things over the years, and they're just such a can't even like use such an evil.
Yep. Xaiphen.
I saw an interesting tweet just now that
hold that thought, Kev. Xaiphen, final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
I want to try to get rolling through here because we're rolling on 2 hours.
Crowdfunding revolution could unseat the power of publishers.
Yeah.
You know, that sounds that simple. It's as simple as it is complicated. You know, it can be done. You know, a crowdfunding revolution could unseat publishers.
Well, hell, I mean, even developers like CD Projekt Red are more than capable of funding themselves just by making good quality pro-consumer or consumer-friendly games.
You're talking about like if the publishers, like the AAA publishers, if they collapse, where the developers go. Well, a lot of those developers find themselves with creative abilities and a lack of funding to start on those projects. Other basement projects that will take exceedingly long periods of time to develop without big money, or certain amounts of money behind them. Yeah. That's where crowdfunding steps in to help.
Yep. True.
My concern is I think about. And I'm going to be selfish. I'm thinking about Mass Effect. If BioWare goes under and they do a crowdfunded game, are we ever going to see another game quite like that?
Well,
I don't think.
Maybe. I mean, well, we might see
not on the independent circuit, I don't think.
I don't know. I mean, it is entirely possible that we could see a Mass Effect quality system set up, but it would probably need like I mean, hell, look, if Star Citizen can fucking get $150 million plus of crowdfunding money, I think it's entirely fucking possible that an independent and free BioWare game could crowdfund $40 to $60 million to make a Mass Effect spiritual successor. I don't know. That's my thought on there. It's like,
I mean, you start slinging merch at people, doing all those really awesome crowdfunding things that good crowdfunded projects do.
Yeah, not Star Citizen.
I just want my R7 armor.
For where?
For the new Mass Effect, where you get my R7 armor.
No.
Because it's the spiritual successor.
No
R5 armor.
No. Not gonna happen.
Side note, I saw a funny tweet that I wanted to share too before we take off.
Yep.
A couple minutes ago. People ages 16 to 24 are labeled by companies as disposable income groups. These are the people that the likes of EA hopes to manipulate into buying microtransactions in video games. Mm-hmm. They think of you as a wallet and nothing more, or think of you as nothing more than a wallet with money to burn.
Yeah.
It hurts. It hurts.
And furthermore, they want to look for the people that have gambling addictions, because even though it's a medical condition and it's technically disgusting it's like more or less conning a mentally deficient person into giving you the money that they get for their food or whatever. It's the same thing here by them manipulating people with gambling addictions with loot boxes. But there's no regulation. There's no consumer protection by independent groups on here. All the ethical standards and guidelines are set entirely by the corporations, which is never how you should do things. If you leave a corporation to police itself, of course it's going to do a little bit to try to keep itself under the radar. It's going to market things carefully so they don't look as bad. But overall, it's going to try to fucking milk and exploit every angle it can. Ugh. Anyway, fun stuff, guys. We're going to get signed off here for this week. We seem to be on this roll since pretty much every time we go for a podcast, there's some new shit that comes up in the gaming industry along this same vein of nonsense. But these are a lot of things that I don't know, I feel like are very important. But in any case, we're going to be off here this week. If you guys are watching this after the broadcast, obviously we do stream this live on Twitch every other Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Obviously, then it gets broadcast onto the Pixel Crashers YouTube channel the next Sunday thereafter. So if you guys do want to join here live and chat with us, feel free to join us live on the Saturday before this comes up on the YouTube channel, and we would love to see you guys here. Anyway, we're going to get signed off here this week. Kev, of course, is going to go back to playing Peasantry 2 because he loves those really bland AAA titles. And the rest of us will go and have more intelligent pursuits. Okay.
Warren doesn't play games!
Okay, that latter part is probably actually not true at all. The rest of us are just going to go and like stare at a wall for 5 hours, which is pretty much the same thing as playing Destiny 2. So,
yeah.
On that note, we're going to get signed off here this week, guys. We'll catch you guys in 2 weeks on the Pixel Crashers podcast.
Later.
Got to get the praise Gaben in there every damn time,
Praise him
like clockwork. And this is the part where I just leave the mic live, switch it to
You will praise Gaben because the trigger's Morty.
No, we're really not gonna be praising Gaben, guys.
Praise him.
Kev likes to do it, but let's be completely honest on here.
Gaben is king.
Steam is no better than any of the other AAA groups out there, or Valve, I should say.
The Church of Gaben.
Right, we're gonna get off. I put this camera off the other Steam controller. Don't believe the hype.
What are you talking about? Everything made by Gaben is 100% always best.
That's right. Praise him.
Hey, did you guys see Incredibles 2?
I mean,
it's not Gaben, it's Gaben. You praise Gaben.
Did you guys see the Incredibles 2 trailer? They're making an Incredibles 2.
I didn't want to see the Incredibles 2.
Do you realize how exciting this is?
I'm too grown to watch The Incredibles.
Look, right. I waited 14 years for this movie.
This is a fun.
Yeah, this movie's like Toy Story 3, where Toy Story 3 was only a movie in theaters for the parents. Because the kids didn't know what the hell that movie was. The same is true with The Incredibles. The Incredibles came out, what, 2002?
Yeah, it's 14 years after the original, so was it for, 3? Fuck.
Yeah, so basically the kids that are watching this basically the target audience don't know the first one because they're too damn old. So it's just for the adults.
Yeah. I'm so excited. Oh, The Incredibles is so good. Where is my super suit?
Where is my super suit? Oh.
You get your super suit.
I'm talking about the greater good.
That is probably the best line from that game is where is my super suit?
Good. I'm your wife. I'm the greatest good you're ever gonna get.
Oh my. Anyway.
Is it